What up, folks of the internet? What up, listeners? Hey, welcome back to another ONETA football show brought to you by P.T.E Creative. I am your host, Evan Davies. Today, we are talking about the top storylines coming out of the free agency frenzy, which has been the last 3 days as of this recording. So I've got my 5 big storylines that I want to talk about. I tried to vary it up a little bit, so we're going to go straight to those storylines. Welcome, new listeners. If you're listening on Spotify, I hope you hear us. Woo! Glad to have you. So, top storyline for me, running back market. Running back market. For once, and for the first time in years, running backs seemingly got paid here. I'm just going to go through a quick list and then hit some highlights on it. Obviously, the biggest one on the market, Saquon Barkley, 3 for $37.75. $37.75 million for 3 years of work. It's pretty darn good. Running back salary, which is going to be around the $12 million plus mark. And, people could say that's not crazy money. That's not crazy money. It's not crazy money for most players, but for a running back, specifically one that hasn't been getting paid well, that's good money. So, and that is a return to closer to what running backs actually should be making in the NFL. Even Antonio Gibson, 3 for $11.25. That's nice. Middle of the road market. It's a nice middle of the market contract, and people might say that's not great middle of the road. I think it is. You're getting almost $4 million a year for someone of Antonio Gibson's production. It at least shows that there's value there for you, and you can be a good piece of an offense. Another one of the big ones, 2 for 16, could be up to 20. That's Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens were definitely going to be. Again, Zach Moss, 2 for 8. So, 2 years, $4 million for Zach Moss, who has never really proven it. That's a good deal in my opinion. Tony Pollard, here's a big one. 3 years, $24 million. $8 million a year for Tony Pollard. Good on him. Good for getting the bag. DeAndre Swift, same thing. 3 for 24. Aaron Jones, 1 for 7. People might say, $7 million for Aaron Jones? That's a steal. I think it is too. I wish he was still in Green Bay for that amount of money. We'll talk about that even further down the road. But $7 million after you're trying to get a pay cut down to possibly 4 by reports coming out. Hey, $7 million to go pay and kind of stick it up your old team's ass for a year. Help them as they're transitioning from a quarterback. Pretty good. And finally, the biggest one on here, technically, although the contract is a little bit different. In totality, 4 years, $48 million. Josh Jacobs to come over from Las Vegas and to be a part of my favorite team, a team I actually own a stock of, my beloved Green Bay Packers. So, why I wanted to focus on running back market is seemingly for the past 5 years, it's just running backs don't get paid. And I don't think this is the top of the market where they should be. Saquon Barkley really should be getting about 16 plus. Not because I think Saquon's the greatest in the world, but with guys like Calvin Ridley, who, in my opinion, aren't nearly as valuable as Saquon Barkley. Calvin Ridley is now the 9th highest paid receiver in the NFL. He is not a top 10 receiver, but he is getting that money. And I think he just signed 3 for 29. Was it $29 million a year or something? It's something astronomically crazy for a player like Calvin Ridley. Saquon Barkley is much more valuable to an offense, in my opinion, than a Calvin Ridley. And this isn't to shit all over Calvin Ridley. It's just simply where the running back market is versus where the receiver market is. And receivers are seen as far more valuable playmakers right now. But really, when it comes to offensive production, how they affect your team, Saquon Barkley highly outweighs Calvin Ridley. It's simple. So that is something to take into account. But I'm glad that it's starting to eke back up. It seems like that big jump. People thought salary cap could have been as high as 250. It's 255 this year, and it was a huge salary cap jump, seeing how we're now out of the COVID delayed years. So the running back market is starting to recover a bit, and hopefully these guys start getting fair market value a little bit more. And I think you're starting to see just the trickling in of some more. I also think that people are starting to figure out free agency. As much as we all love the crazy free agency, and the NFL loves the fact that we love crazy free agency, people are starting to realize in front offices that Very rarely does the splash day one signing a free agency make the team go over the top. What makes a team go over the top is usually day 2, day 3, and the guys that you signed a week after free agency, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the guys you get in before camp. Those guys that you get in on a reasonable contract, come in and change your team, fill those role positions that you really, really desperately need it, and they fit perfectly. Those are the guys that really make your team. Yet another reason why I was so high on Frankie Louvu in the past couple of weeks with these free agency shows on the channel. Why I love Keyshawn Nixon. Why I love some of the other players. Why I was really happy to see Michael Pittman Jr. get paid. He's a 1A, but he's a really, really valuable piece to an offense. So there, inherently, you're seeing those guys get paid, and that's good, but they're not breaking the bank. So they fill the role, they get rewarded for the efforts that they put in, for the role that they've played for other teams, and now they're getting paid to stay with their team and, or in Frankie Louvu's case, go to Washington. But I love that the running back market is starting to eke up. And I think the biggest one for me, if I look at it, is Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, in my mind, he's always shared a backfield, and when he didn't share a backfield and was quote-unquote the guy in Dallas, he didn't show out like that. And now Dallas let him go, and he's still making $8 million a year. Where in the past couple of years, I wouldn't have been shocked if he got 4. Not because Tony Pollard's an absolute bum, but that was where the running market was seemingly going. To get $8 million a year and to go be a part of a backfield with Tajay Spears. Tajay something. I think it's Tajay Spears. Down in Tennessee. It's good on them. So that's a bit of change to get. And obviously Saquon going to the Eagles, the analytics-driven team of the Eagles, the most possibly analytics-driven team besides, I guess, maybe the Browns, in all of football, seemingly, went out and got a running back and paid him. That's pretty impressive. And obviously, I think I'm just looking at the big list here. I think the biggest needle movers in terms of how they're going to affect their team and can really show you whether the running back market is going to continue to get paid or not. Because these are the guys, when they start getting paid, they're going to dictate who's going to get paid in the future. Because they're going to show you whether running backs should get paid or shouldn't get paid. I think your biggest ones, obviously Saquon, as we talked about, but Derrick Henry. He's going to hit 30 years old this year, and he just made a deal for up to $20 million. That's big time. I believe $10 million is guaranteed no matter what. So on that, that's tremendous to see where these guys are going to go. And to add that bruising fashion of a runner that can maybe free up Lamar Jackson a little bit more. Because not that Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, those guys that they had in the backfield were bad. They were not. They were good role players for Baltimore. But they didn't take the same attention that a Derrick Henry is going to take from a defense. So when you add that element to your team, either he's going to get more carries and get more of a load to take the pressure off Lamar scrambling, or it's going to free up Lamar to go away from that passer that we just saw, just a hair, to free up the running ability a little bit. That's where I think it's most interesting. So when you're looking at guys that are going to affect this market the most, look for Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is the roll of the dice guy. Josh Jacobs is the protected control contract in which they rewarded him. They gave him a good signing bonus, but it's only guaranteed really for 1 year. There's an out after 1 year on Green Bay's part. So there, it's protected. Let's see how much we need to protect. And then Saquon and Derrick Henry are going to be the guys that are really going to affect this market going. But I'm glad to see the running back market is eking up. Storyline numero dos. The middle class rules again. And what do I mean by that? The middle class quarterback showed up and at least got some paychecks once again, because they are going to be what's dominating NFL starting quarterbacks right now as we go into 2020. As it sits right now. Listen to this list of 10 guys of the middle class. Jacoby Brissett, New England Patriots. Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings. Gardner Minshew, going to Las Vegas Raiders. Marcus Mariota, maybe pushing Sam Howell. I'll have more on that in a theory for a second. Going to Washington. Commanders. Tyrod Taylor, New York Jets. Why is that important? It affects the backup quarterback market, and the Jets learned that. Drew Lock, New York Giants. That affects backup, but also possibly lineup. Mason Rudolph, Tennessee. Know what the kid's going to do yet with Will. Joe Flacco, Indianapolis. Good solid backup. Back up the kid who's shown his health could be a problem. Russell Wilson is now part of the middle class. He's going to Pittsburgh. And finally, Jameis Winston's going to Cleveland. Now, a lot of those guys, a lot of people out there may be thinking or maybe saying, well, those are old names, and they're not middle, they're just filler guys. Okay, you can think that. But I've starred the guys. So I'm going to eliminate 2 off the bat, and 1 I think is not a fair elimination, but I'm going to say it. Mason Rudolph, Tennessee. I don't think he's your starter. Will Levis is your clear starter. But Mason Rudolph has played well enough in many people's eyes to justify if Will Levis really shits the bed, which I don't think is impossible. I don't dislike Will Levis, but I wasn't crazy about Will Levis. I thought he got drafted pretty much where he should be, in the 2nd round. And I haven't seen enough of his play in Tennessee to say, whoa, Will Levis is going to be the guy. I know he had a couple standout moments and a couple good games, but Mason Rudolph is the kind of guy that gets a coach to go, we're struggling. The young kid isn't performing where I want him to be. Let's throw Mason Rudolph in. That's the problem with a Mason Rudolph. I honestly think a Mason Rudolph has kind of held back Pittsburgh a little bit because it fits the compete, make the best of the moment a little bit too much for them. They obviously loved him. I'm shocked he got out of Pittsburgh. But there's a Mason Rudolph. Number 2, Joe Flacco. Here's the one I think is arguably unfair. I love Anthony Richardson as a prospect. I loved seeing what he did last year. His health was in concern every single game. Every single game. Okay? If your quarterback is seemingly constantly riding the line of healthy or not every single game, unlike other quarterbacks, because technically speaking, we can always say that about every quarterback, health can go like that. But nonetheless, when you are talking every game, he's either about to get knocked out or knocked out. Then a major injury happens. I'm not saying it's his fault. It's nothing Anthony Richardson can help. He doesn't want to get concussed. He doesn't want to get major injuries. I'm not saying it's his fault. But bringing in Joe Flacco is a sign of, hey, this guy was hot last year, and what happens if we lose? We had to go to Gardner all of last year for pretty much. We had to go to Minshew. We're going to go get Joe Flacco because we think this guy can play in case Anthony Richardson can't. Says a lot, but I eliminated him from the potential starters. Now let's go through just potential starters. Jameis Winston, Cleveland. Yeah, they're paying Deshaun Watson a lot of money. Deshaun Watson got hurt middle to late last year. Right as he played one good game to show you, maybe Deshaun Watson can come back. And I'm talking Deshaun Watson, quarterback of the Houston Texans, who at one time I thought was a top 5 quarterback and absolutely loved his play until he turned out to be a shitbag. But play on the field, I've always loved Deshaun Watson's play on the field. Don't ever take me out of context. So, Jameis Winston, with the injury history and the play history, because I think it's year 3 now in Cleveland, it's put up or shut up time for Deshaun Watson. They're now getting near enough to the point where they might have to go, we got to take our medicine. It's true. You just saw it down in Denver, or out in Denver. They're taking their medicine and just say, it didn't work, fuck it. Cut him. See what we can go elsewhere. It doesn't work with Deshaun Watson. Do not be shocked if Jameis Winston, whether it's by injury or by poor play, do not be shocked if Jameis Winston starts some games. Don't be shocked at that at all. Straight up. That could happen. Russell Wilson. Kenny Pickett, I said this last show, I'm going to say it again. Nothing against Kenny Pickett, the guy. But Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, in my opinion, sucks. He is not an NFL level starting quarterback of a quality caliber. I think he could be a quality backup. Maybe quality backup, but he's not a starting quarterback of a quality level. Don't be shocked if Russell Wilson comes in and plays a lot of games. I think Mike Tomlin might be stubborn and just say, no, Kenny's the guy, Kenny's the guy, Kenny's the guy. But if he wants to win games and make sure his team doesn't lose him, or he doesn't lose his team, which I know is difficult in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's built differently. They've built a really good culture there from a defense perspective that really leads that team. But don't be shocked if Russell Wilson comes and starts some games. Middle class, that's 2. Drew Lock, New York Giants. Reports out of the Combine, New York Giants are out on Daniel Jones. They are willing to just take their medicine and say it didn't work. Major injury, start of the middle of last year. Can he recover to even start the games in the middle, at the beginning of the season in September? We don't know. Drew Lock has at least shown that occasionally he can play some good football. Not crazy good football. Don't ever think I'm not saying Drew Lock's a starting quarterback in the NFL. But on an injury-riddled quarterback team such as the Giants, who also do not have a quarterback, if they don't get one in the draft, don't be surprised if Drew Lock starts a lot of games for the New York Giants next year. That's 3. Tyrod Taylor, New York Jets. A lot of people are going to say, no, Aaron Rodgers is coming back. Aaron Rodgers turns 40 this year. I love Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did a lot. I will be forever grateful for the COVID year of Aaron Rodgers because I came to learn and understand how valuable he truly was to me, relearning my love for the Green Bay Packers. Okay? But he is 40 coming off an Achilles tear. It's kind of unheard of. That is super unheard of. And we don't know how... And I understand. Everyone's going to say, oh, he turned the big story. Maybe he was going to come back at the end and didn't make the playoffs. You can think that. I was not one who said that. I was not one who thought that. Now, there was part of me that knows the spite monster that is Aaron Rodgers, that if you doubt him, he's going to say, fuck you, and he's going to go do it. Which is why he's being considered to be a vice presidential candidate by RFK Jr. Different story. We won't go into politics outside of mentioning he's being considered for a political position. But you don't know how the Achilles is going to feel to heal. You don't know how Aaron's health is going to feel. And this is not to say Aaron isn't an Iron Man who's always going to work to be out on the field. He is. Aaron always wants to be on the field. If he can do it, he's going to do it. But Aaron Rodgers has never been, just because he's worn green and gold doesn't mean he was Brett Favre in the fact that he was impervious to injury. He did have injury issues from time to time in Green Bay. Obviously, again, not his fault. But now you're coming off of a major injury that's unheard of to bounce back at that age from that injury. That says a lot. Don't be shocked if Tyrod Taylor has to start a few games for the Jets. If not a lot. Hell, if he wants to go be a VP candidate, he might be starting all the games. But I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. Crazy things happen. That's 4. Washington, Marcus Mariota. Why do I say that? Dan Quinn, new coach. I don't think he's afraid to play a rookie quarterback. They're clearly going to go get a quarterback in the draft. However, what happens if they feel he's not ready to start games? What if they want to sit him for a couple of games? And everyone's saying, no, they have Sam Howell. They have Sam Howell. Sam Howell played just well enough last year to make a coach think maybe he could play. Those are not guys you want in the same room as your rookie quarterback. Because most people from a fan perspective and coaches under fire or coaches who do not have the full wherewithal, I guess, to take the heat, think maybe it's best I can use the idea that, we can sit and he can learn a little bit. Sam Howell's not the guy because people there will go, well, we got Sam. Let Sam play. We got a better team now. Let Sam play. Let Sam play if their rookie quarterback's struggling. Also, if you have a rookie quarterback, if they somehow get Caleb Williams, which isn't going to happen, but if it does, then you don't have to worry about that. Caleb Williams is ready to go. But the Drake Mays, J. Jacob McCarthy's, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Some would argue Jaden Daniels. I would not. Those guys may have to sit just to get used to the pro system, the way the pro football is played. Don't be shocked if Marcus Mariota has to start some games. I don't think it's not a good idea. I don't want it to happen for Washington. If I were a Washington fan, I'd be afraid of having Marcus Mariota on my roster. I don't hate Marcus Mariota again, but like the guy has shown he's mediocre at best and he's a backup. But don't be shocked if he starts some games for Washington. Plus, Washington has a horrible history of constantly somehow to turn out to the second option instead of using the first. Then we go to the guys that really, really have a chance to start. Minnesota, Sam Darnold. There are Sam Darnold truthers out there that believe he's never been truly given a shot, and now after sitting with Kyle Shanahan, he could turn into something. I'm not one of them. Sam Darnold was but in all honesty, Sam Darnold was my number one quarterback in the 2018 draft. I take my misses just like I take my hits. Do I think he was set up for success? No. In anywhere he's been outside of San Francisco, which he never started a game. But did he do enough to show me that, like, yeah, there's still something there? No. He played 3 good games in Carolina. About it. So the fact that they might be going, Sam Darnold could be rolling out as our week 1 starter, it's not something I'd be comfortable with as a Minnesota Viking fan. But having said that, he's probably going to have to start a lot of games, especially if they're in 11, unless they pay a king's ransom to get up to 3 to the next team we're going to talk about, which I do not think is going to happen. But if they do that, they're getting the 3rd best guy in the draft, theoretically, who's going to have to probably sit, which means Sam's probably going to play anyway. So Sam Darnold is a real possibility he's going to start games. Then you go to my boy, Jake Brisket. Slice me off a piece of that Jake Brisket. I love Jacoby Brissett. I think he's always been underrated. I'm not saying he's God's gift to the quarterback position, but I think he can be a good, serviceable NFL quarterback. Middle of the road, take you where you need to go. And he played really well before he got injured in Indianapolis, and everyone likes to say he didn't play well. He played really well in Indianapolis prior to his injury. I always think he kind of got an unfair shake in. Jacoby Brissett going to New England. New England, new philosophy, new coach. We have no idea what the hell Gerard Mayo is going to do. What we do know about it, 1, defensive guy. Defensive guys, including Bill Belichick, who Gerard Mayo learned everything from a coaching perspective, and obviously the other coach. Gerard Mayo learned everything from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick likes traditional, straight down the road quarterbacking. That's why he went to Tom Brady in the first place, and then Tom Brady eventually turned into the superstar quarterback that he was. Tom Brady was known for the Vinny Testaverdes. He was known for the Bernie Kosars. He was known for just look at how many guys he brought into New England. Brian Hoyers, the Matt Castles, those kind of guys. He was the original drafter of Jimmy Garoppolo, original drafter of Jacoby Brissett. Middle of the road, do your job kind of guys. That's where Gerard Mayo learned. Elliott Wolf, the de facto GM, learned under Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf's idea is always go back to classic football, which was best guy plays, but ideally, starter is your veteran, young guy sits and learns. Why do I know that the most? Because I grew up 45 minutes south of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the reason Ron Wolf is a Hall of Fame GM, it's because he rebuilt the Packers from absolute trash into the major contender they are today. Green Bay still, to this day, does everything Ron Wolf did. Which is get a quarterback, have them sit, learn, and when they're ready, go out into the world. That's who learned, and where does that all come from? Because his son is the de facto GM. Where do you think Elliott Wolf became an executive and learned how to do stuff? Oh yeah, he grew up in Green Bay. Knowing that system. Understanding that. And then he went, where'd he go? Oh yeah, had some time in Kansas City, had some times as they were getting ready from Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, went to Cleveland with John Dorsey, took some of that there. Those are guys that want the best option at quarterback at the moment and get the best option long-term ready to go. That's why I think it's a real possibility Jacoby Brissett not only is the week 1 starter in New England, but he could start possibly all year, especially if New England trades down for more draft capital, because I think New England's just talent poor. They need so much. I don't know if there's another roster outside of maybe Carolina. Carolina's done some good for themselves, even though they did just trade away their best player, which is crazy. But they've done some good for themselves. New England is just so talent poor. They re-signed a lot of guys, and they did sign a few guys that maybe be able to help. But do not be shocked if Jacoby Brissett starts quarter, half, or possibly a full season in New England as the Patriots starting quarterback this year. Do not be shocked. The middle class of the NFL quarterback, those are 8 middle-of-the-road guys that may be the starter week 1 for their franchise that are middle-of-the-road, middle-class quarterbacks. Think about that as we go. And as you're thinking on that, before we go into some more storylines, I just want to ask you, do you need some more stuff? I think you do. Go to our Etsy shop. Check out ptecreative.etsy.com. Take you a little scroll. If you're on the video version here, you can find some cool t-shirts, cool stickers. We got football related stuff. We got national parks related stuff. We got Pokemon stuff. We got fiction related stuff. We got all kinds of cool things for you to stick all over your belongings, and some cool things. Get some cool t-shirts you can wear and rep yourself and rep some stuff from the show. And you got some Pokemon cards if you want to play. And we got new items coming very, very soon over to the channel. So please head on over to ptecreative.etsy.com. And you can use the promo code BLISS. For those that are long-term listeners, I'm bringing the BLISS code back because I want to celebrate the fact that we are now going on to Spotify. So we are using the promo code BLISS for another month until March 13th. Promo code is going to expire March 13th now. And if you're listening, you can go get your items 20% off any order of 2 items or more. Use the promo code BLISS. Have yourself a great purchase over at ptecreative.etsy.com. We thank you for anyone who goes and checks it out, likes an item, favorites an item, or eventually buys. We'd love that too. Back to it here. Third big storyline on my book from free agency this year, as it's starting to wind down. Still a few good names out there that you can catch. March is not just free agent season, it's trade season now. Every year we're starting to see more and more trades to get within salary cap to improve our teams. We have 7 bona fide trades here that make teams better. And we have some rumors doing some even more. I'm just going to go through big ones right here. Brian Burns, one of the better pass rushers in all the NFL. He's traded for only a 2nd and a 5th because people know he was on the market and he needed to get paid. But a 2nd and a 5th can buy you a top 10, top 15 edge rusher in the NFL. That's a hell of a bargain. My dear friend Brandon, huge New York Giants fan, possibly a better scout than I am as well. I have to be truthful and honest. My boy Brandon can scout himself some players. Knows more about the game than I do. Absolutely was just devastated with Saquon leaving. Wasn't happy with Xavier McKinney leaving. And his day was made having Brian Burns. Which I understand. It's a hell of a trade. The hell of a trade to pull off and to only not even to use a first in any capacity. And to only get 1 second away from your team for that level of talent. Great on the part. Great on the Giants' part. Carlton Davis, that's a number 1 corner. So Carlton Davis and 2 6th, one this year and one next year, all for a 3rd round pick. That's a good trade. We'll see if it pans out for Detroit, but Detroit getting a number 1 corner in Carlton Davis. Number 3, Jerry Jeudy. Reclamation project a little bit, but maybe he could be a role player over in Cleveland. Cleveland's looking for more talent at that position. Amari Cooper is finally hitting age 30, I believe. He's one of those guys that you always think is 30, and he's been like 24 forever. But Jerry Jeudy, 5th and a 6th, going to Cleveland. That's a decent trade. A roll of the dice. If you believed in Jerry Jeudy early, I get it. I would roll those dice too, most likely, if I were put in that position. Now, the really interesting trade here, Deontay Johnson and a 7th for Dante Jackson, the corner, and a 6th. So Carolina making a good play to go get some help for Bryce Young, understanding that no matter what they do on defense, it doesn't matter until your quarterback position is at least set and fixed, and they're going to try to help Bryce Young by going to get a real target with Deontay Johnson. I don't think Deontay Johnson's the one, but to get Deontay Johnson to flip a good middle of the road corner, but no one that's so crazy that you can't lose, and to just trade, 6th for it and get a draft pick back, that's pretty good. Now, what are you getting with Deontay Johnson? There's reports that the attitude may have got him out of Pittsburgh, which isn't shocking, knowing the receiver room in Pittsburgh stories as the last couple years. However, new place of scenery, definitely going to probably be the main target down in Carolina because their draft early, that's got to go offensive line, even though they signed Robert Hunt. That's a really interesting trade as it's player for player and pick for pick. So that's pretty cool to see that. It's almost a Madden-esque trade, but it's kind of cool to see that. Joe Mixon on the road from Cincinnati. He got traded down to Houston. I think that's a good pickup. Terms haven't really been released to my knowledge at this point. If you know them, good for you. I haven't seen the terms of the trade yet, but good. I think Joe Mixon can be a serviceable running back for a year or two more. Good on the Texans getting some veteran help for C.J. Stroud and helping that offense continue to step up even more than they already did in 2023. Interesting choice here. Mac Jones for a 6th. Interesting choice, not because Mac Jones for a 6th, because it's not uncommon, and I understand the logic. Getting a young quarterback still on a rookie deal for a late round pick, just seeing what you can get. What's odd about it is the team that made that decision in Mac Jones. And that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interesting decision. But that's still a noticeable trade. It's a guy who was a rookie of the year like 2 years ago. And he just got kicked off his team, and he had horrible coaching 1 year. And then his confidence is just like broken. My favorite thing ever said to understand Mac Jones right now, I was a Mac Jones believer in the draft. I think I finally lost faith in that. I still think he could be a middle-of-the-road, decent backup quarterback or decent starter if the coaching comes along and he gets his confidence back. Thing on Mac Jones is this. My favorite thing said about him, Rich Eisen was calling the game that the Patriots played in Germany. He said Mac Jones just looked like he needed a hug. One, that's an adorable thing to say. But two, if that doesn't show you how broken a player's confidence is and how broken the person is, I don't know what does. And it makes me wonder, God damn, like, they really just fuck him up that bad in New England? Because he seemed like he was full of piss and vinegar and couldn't have been affected like that at all coming out of the draft with that Conor McGregor-esque strut in the draft when he came down. But let's see if Doug Peterson can help him out and give him a little bit of a pat on the back. Hopefully that pregame ice cream down in Jacksonville. Here's another one. Ryan Bates, offensive lineman. Oh, God, where's Bates going? I'm going to double check that one just because I do not want to go crazy on that here. Ryan Bates just got traded to... Let me double check that. I will skip that for now. Get back to that. But we also got T. Higgins. Ah, there it is. My apologies. Ryan Bates, offensive lineman, for a 5th, going from Buffalo Bills to the Chicago Bears. My apologies for that little bit. Bates for a 5th, I don't hate, because it's a decent starter offensive lineman that has a hair of versatility. Can go to Chicago and hopefully shore up that line so maybe they don't have to invest enormous amounts of equity into it because they already went and got a tackle last year. They're starting to get a little bit more shored up on the offensive line. If you're a Chicago Bears fan, that's a good trade. 5th round pick for a starting player on your offensive line that hopefully is going to be protecting Caleb Williams come a month and a half from now. Impressive. And a decent trade. And that's notable. Those are trades I think are worthwhile. Middle to late picks for starting players that can play a role for you and hopefully shore up a hole that you may have. Those are good trades. I like those. Then again, those are all confirmed trades. And I don't think the trades have finished. Because we still have Teagan's just requested a trade. I still think it's contractual based off of what I've heard. But, and I highly doubt the Bengals are the team that's ever going to trade away their player when they have contractual control. That is not the Bengals' way of doing stuff. But they get an offer they can't refuse. P.T.E is on the move. Who knows? Then the Chargers, they're keeping Khalil Mack. Mike Williams is cut. Keenan Allen and Joey Bosa still up for debate. Do not be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Joey Bosa got moved. Keenan Allen I would understand, but if I had to play GM, I wouldn't trade anything other than a very late round pick for Keenan Allen. Not because Keenan Allen can't still be a serviceable player, but he's aging. And I don't think the production's going to be there for a higher end pick to get Keenan Allen. Joey Bosa, theoretical premier pass rusher in the NFL, he's gonna demand a high trade. Do not be shocked if the Chargers take that and run with it. Someone wants to go out and go get themselves a pass rusher. I would think of a team. Who would I think of to have that? Because now I'm thinking I was about to say Washington because they've just traded away all their assets and they signed a lot of not assets. They traded away all their defensive line assets of high value last year. However, they just went on a huge middle-of-the-road free agency spend today, and they only spent about $100 million, and they have a lot of cap room left. So they could theoretically accommodate it, but if you're going to trade for Joey Bosa, you need to most likely include a first-round pick, unless the Chargers are just like, yeah, we're done with them. You're not trading number 2, which means then you have to get into the seconds, thirds this year when you're still trying to rebuild your team, plus ones next year. It's a mess. I don't think Washington would do that kind of. Would a team like, I don't know, would the Bears do it? They just got Montez Sweat, paid him. They're going to have a rookie quarterback reset. You trade number 9 and maybe a late round pick for Joey Bosa. Is that worth it to you? I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't do it, but I could see other people going that are smart and are trusted people going, we'd make that trade. Why not? Could you see a team like Seattle? They're 16. They're just, I don't know how well he fits the Mike McDonald defense because we've only got 1 year truly of a Mike McDonald defense. But they're at 16. 16 for Joey Bosa is arguably a good spot. I'm not a big Joey Bosa believer. I've never been a big Joey believer for context. However, I can't deny when the guy's on the field, he's a good player. Problem is he's never on the field. And I don't trade for assets like that if I were that guy. And we're not playing in Madden where you can kind of just fix the injury settings and hope the guy's going to play. We're playing in the real world. So that's why I would say as a GM, I wouldn't make that trade. But those middle of the teens, late firsts. What about a Buffalo? They just cleared a bunch of their cap by getting rid of guys. Buffalo go do it. Buffalo wants to say, hey, our window ain't closed. It's wide open. Late round pick. I don't know. You can always make financial stuff work, especially if you're going to rework contracts. Those are all possible trades and real trades that went down to make teams better. Trade season is now March. Everyone goes trade deadline and it's usually uneventful. It's because a lot of teams aren't knocked out yet. They don't want to give away their assets prior to making a possible miracle run. Whereas, if the trade deadline was 3 weeks later, a lot of teams would just be, all right, fire sale, go. We'll do you a solid. You can go to a good team. We'll get some value in return for you. And then free agency wouldn't be nearly as big of an idea. But trade deadline is where it's at. Go. You're not going to see many trades. March is now trade season. The last couple of years, we've been seeing big trades in March. And I personally like it. If it's going to help your team, go do it. And then you have a full year to prepare instead of going, August, it's not working out. Let's go get someone last minute. And then you really got to give it's a 2-year experiment instead of a 1-year experiment. Because you don't know how that person's going to fit perfectly when you get them in August. Whereas if you can get them in March, they can go through the full off-season program, really get them in. If it's not working, then you can go, we gave it a full year's experience, let's give it into 2, and then in year 2, you can go pull the ripcord if we have to. I love that idea of trades. I like that. And we have 2 more storylines, but before I go to those storylines, I gotta ask you, do you like the entertainment you're seeing? Do you like the entertainment you're hearing? I hope you do. If you want more, go over to our YouTube channel. P.T.E Creative, our release schedule's up on the channel video right now if you want to go see it. Every Monday through Friday, weekdays, you're getting new content. And then our Spotify listeners, you're getting a new show Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday, you're getting those Pokemon card pack openings, as that's a big foundation of how we got started on the channel. We keep that alive every single Monday for new Pokemon packs. Tuesday, you're getting kind of the flagship show, the ONETA show. We're talking a lot of wild, different experiences. This upcoming Tuesday, we get back into our Smash reboot project. We're seeing new fighters and finishing the conversation of new fighters joining the roster of a Super Smash Bros. Reboot, which could be very fun. I highly love those conversations, and I hope you guys listen to those conversations. Well, Wednesday, it is the Pokemon Bliss and Pokemon Oblivion project, where we're unveiling new Fakemon or new custom Pokemon. Join us every Wednesday for that one. Thursday, it's the ONETA football show. Every single Thursday, you're getting this show. You're already listening to it, so we appreciate it. Tuesdays and Thursdays also hold. If you're a Spotify listener, you can look for P.T.E Creative, or you can look for the ONETA show or the ONETA football show. Search the ONETA show and the ONETA football show. You're probably going to get the best results on that if you want to just straight listen to the shows. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, the video also comes out, and you get the video package up on the P.T.E Creative YouTube channel. And then Friday, it's the rotating shows. You got the ONETA Adventures show, where we're sharing cool places to go travel and some tips as you go to those places. You get the Brick Builder show, and the first episode is launching this week. We're going and building some Legos and sharing our thoughts on it, just having some fun times. Or you might get some more Pokemon pack openings or some specialty projects like Yu-Gi-Oh pack openings or some other wild and crazy stuff that we're doing on the channel that I'm building towards. We're not really ready to unveil yet, but specialty projects are also coming over on Fridays. If you want more entertainment, we've got you covered Monday through Friday, and there's a bevy of entertainment still on the channel that you can hit into any Saturday or Sunday if you so choose. We're available for you, and we hope you go check us out, and we enjoy it when you. And finally, we've got 2 storylines to cover here. I'll start with this one. Bye-bye, old friends. New league year happened. It happened roughly 7 hours or 8 hours prior to me recording this in the moment. When I say bye-bye old friends, I'm talking about notable players from teams that were big parts of teams that are going the way of the dodo due to cap cuts. And only one player as of now was signed. The only one I have that was prior to... I have 2 players on here, but there were notable players for their teams that were cap cuts prior to the new league year starting today. And I'll start with those guys. They're both Green Bay Packers. David Bakhtiari, cornerstone, premier left tackle in the NFL when he plays. The health finally got to him after 3 years of health issues. Green Bay finally cut the cord. It's a great sign of showing how quick the NFL can come get you. He was a premier, perfect left tackle for the most part. Don't be shocked if he ends up out in, uh, Florham Park, New Jersey, helping out his boy Aaron Rodgers. But David Bakhtiari, cornerstone of the Packers, he's out. Aaron Jones, emotional leader, great locker room guy, especially for all those young guys that came in the past 2 years in Green Bay. He's out. They're both cap cuts. One of which is due strictly to finances, the other finances and health. Those are big, big moves on Packers' part, and that's what teams need to do. And that's the part that sucks as a fan. You want those guys on your team, but financially, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You got to come to terms with it. I still think Aaron Jones can play. That one really hurts me. Where I've been on the show before, it's not. I want David Bakhtiari healthy on the Green Bay Packers. He's not healthy anymore. And he can't play a full season. He played one game this past season. One. Past couple of years, he's played maybe half a season. Cap cuts have to happen for stuff like that. And it sucks when health takes a player's career away from them. It's the truth. And teams have to move on. Other noticeable guys. Another big one. It's the biggest name on here for most people. As I like to call him, Slant Boy himself. Michael Thomas, wide receiver of the Saints. After 3 tumultuous years, he's no longer a Saint. Now, in my opinion, Michael Thomas, one of the most overrated players in the past decade. When I say Slant Boy, I made it a point to watch every single catch from his record season. Half of them were slants. All of them were slants or drag routes or small in or out cuts. That's it. He did not have a lot of variety. That was a Sean Payton cut-it-up offense. That was not, and to accommodate Drew Brees. That was not Michael Thomas. I'm a fucking star wide receiver, and he was being treated as such. Had a hell of a year. Props to him for that. But he wasn't a top 10 receiver. People treated him as such. He got paid as such. And it came back to bite the Saints in the ass because his health came and bit him in the ass. Hopefully he can reclaim a bit of his health and a bit of his career, and he can go somewhere and be a reclamation project. For his sake, I hope that happens. I'm not rooting against Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, bye-bye old friends. Same thing, Mike Williams, another health issue. Chargers are saying $20 million off our cap is a good thing. Gotta go. Mike Williams, great big play threat, high draft pick. There's a reason they paid him when he showed out and stayed healthy. Hasn't stayed healthy since. $20 million, big one there. DJ Humphries, starting left tackle for the Cardinals. He's been the big blindside blocker for Kyler Murray. DJ Humphries, I wouldn't say is a phenomenal player, but has been a serviceable player out in the desert in Arizona. They say goodbye. They save $10 million in cap room. And then the big ones out of Las Vegas. Hunter Renfrow, who has been serviceable until Josh McDaniels came and coached that team, which is shocking because you think he'd love the white boy supreme slot receiver. Hunter Renfrow's done jack shit since Josh McDaniels took that team. And they just said it's time to go. And Jimmy Garoppolo as well. Everyone knew it was coming, but especially after he failed that drug test and voided all his guarantees, any chance of him being on the Las Vegas Raiders was goodbye. All those guys were serviceable or notable pieces or big pieces to their team. They're all goodbye. They're all bye-bye old friends. And I love covering that story, not because you relish in a guy not being a part of their team due to salary cap issues or health issues. You don't relish that. You don't relish anything about a player losing a chance. But it's important to cover it because it shows what good teams do. Good teams make tough decisions that fans can't. That's really, really important. It's the Bill Walsh model that now most people call the Bill Belichick model. Bill Walsh was famous for saying, I want to get rid of a player a year before he's done. Because Bill Walsh didn't want your bad years, he only wanted your good years. And as much as that sucks from a cruel and callous standpoint, it's the truth about creating a football team. These guys are all it now. Michael Thomas might be done. David Bakhtiari might be done. Aaron Jones, I think, has a couple good years left in him. But with health, the way it went last year, he could be done eventually. Mike Williams could just be straight up done due to health. Jimmy Garoppolo, due to health and poor play, he might be gone. Hunter Renfrow, he might be done. The legs might be gone. He might not be a good player anymore. Those are all guys that might just be done. You got to make the tough cut. That's why I always cover that story when I talk football with people, or when I used to blog about it or other things like that, because those are noticeable cuts that have to be made for your team. And finally, from a really morose and sad topic, the fun topic here, quarterback carousel is in full spin mode. Starts with this. Your big ticket item quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins obviously, and then from this year's standpoint, Baker Mayfield, off the market. Atlanta's got a new quarterback. Tampa keeps their quarterback. We already covered middle-class quarterbacks. New England, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Washington, New York Jets, New York Giants, Tennessee, Titans, Colts, Steelers, Browns. They all got new quarterbacks. They're all middle of the road, middle-class guys. Which means most of them are still in this quarterback-needy draft some way, shape, or form. Justin Fields has no team. Apparently the Bears are shocked his market isn't bigger. I'm not. Mostly because where was he going to go? Atlanta was the obvious choice. It's out. Number 2 obvious choice, Pittsburgh. It's out. Your next best option is probably Minnesota. Does Does Chicago want to trade Justin Fields in division to Minnesota? It's happened before. It is wild when it does. When it does, it's usually the team knows this guy's done and another team's picking up scraps because they think they still have it. Justin Fields is not that. Justin Fields, in some people's eyes, could be a franchise quarterback. He's at least worth a roll of the dice for a decent trade in many people's eyes. But with no team in the Justin Fields sweepstakes right now taking him as a potential starter, which is, I think, another thing holding him back. A lot of these teams are thinking, draft is our way to get a starter. Justin Fields trade is not. Look at the teams that are quarterback needy. And don't be shocked if Justin Fields doesn't get traded until the Bears at 1. Commanders at 2. Patriots at 3. 1 and 2 are guaranteed quarterbacks, and I would be shocked if New England doesn't take a quarterback. Mostly because I believe New England thinks in their mind, unless they truly are being honest with themselves, that unless they're being truly honest and know they're not going to probably play that well this year, crazier things have happened. But I don't think New England's going to be a factor at all this year. They're just too talent depleted. They need really 2 more drafts to make them, 2 more drafts and free agency cycles to make them relevant again. As much as I love Jake Brisket, they're probably taking a quarterback. It'd be shocking, but there are rumors that maybe they could be open to trading down. 1, 2, and 3, they're 2 guaranteed quarterbacks and 1 damn close to guaranteed. Giants at 6, they need a quarterback. Signing Drew Lock, say, hey, we got our starter? No. Is Daniel Jones coming off yet another injury? Say he's their starter? No. Giants at 6 is a real possibility. Another one. It's the question mark, but you want to try to reset your team and buy yourself some more time as an executive as a coach? Jets at 10. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be shocked, and I wouldn't do that. I would just go, hey, I've made my lot. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. I got to go get him protection. But a GM that's desperate, like Joe Douglas probably is, Robert Saleh trying to save his job, maybe buy himself a little bit of time, can play the, we took a wounded veteran card. Quarterback? It buys people time in an executive position. That's all I'm saying. Number 10's possibility. Vikings, 11, Sam Darnold. Is he guaranteed to be your franchise future forever? No. Vikings at 11. Broncos, they didn't even make a move. Maybe the Broncos could go trade for Justin Fields. I doubt it. Doesn't seem like a Sean Payton kind of guy, but Justin Fields is out there. Denver's out there, but Denver, they didn't even try signing a quarterback seemingly. Really hard to when you have the biggest cap hit in NFL history to deal with, but Broncos are looking at 12. They're dying to get a quarterback. Raiders are 13. Does Gardner Minshew say he's your long-term starter? No. Gardner Minshew. Not the guy. Raiders are viable at 13. And then you got two that look for these. They're on short-term deals right now. They have a theoretical starter, but it's your long-term answer for 5 to 10 years. Saints with Derek Carr at 14. I think in a draft that's stocked full of offensive tackles, it'd be crazy for a team that needs offensive tackles like the Saints do to not take one. But would I be shocked if they got into the quarterback market? Absolutely not. Because Derek Carr does not say, I'm your answer. Derek Carr says, we're going to try to be a wild card team this year. That's what Derek Carr says. Even at Derek Carr's best, he's a wild card quarterback, maybe a divisional round quarterback. He's not a conference championship or a Super Bowl quarterback. Don't be shocked if Saints at 14 go for it. It'd be strange with Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen still there. And another one, Seahawks at 16. I like Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith can play. But Geno is on the second of a 3-year deal with not a lot of money tied to years 2 and 3. It's easy for Seattle to get out of this contract. Seattle at 16. What happens if a Michael Penix slips? JJ McCarthy slips. Bo Nix slips. What happens if Drake May slips? What happens if Jaden Daniels slips? Highly doubt those two do, but you never know. Do they get into the market at 16? I think it's possible. I wouldn't be shocked, especially you got a new coach. And you got a GM who's really running the team for the first time by himself. There's no more power division of Pete Carroll runs this team. John Snyder runs this team now. Where did John Snyder grow up as an executive in the league? Oh, yeah. Green Bay. Grew up under the Ron Wolf administration. Ted Thompson administration. What do those GMs teach you? Get a quarterback. You think you got a quarterback? Go get another quarterback. Oh, that worked out well for you? You know what you should do now? Go get another quarterback. Don't be shocked if Seattle gets in if somebody slips. A lot of people want to do the romanticization. Oh, Michael Penix straight to Seattle. It's not crazy. Don't be shocked if that happens. But look at that carousel. Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Giants, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, Saints, Seahawks. 10 teams within the top half of the draft that you can make a viable argument can, will, or are guaranteed to take a quarterback. And Justin Fields is the lone man out there just going, I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. Except the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. That's a really, really interesting, notable thing out of free agency. The man left holding the bag in the negative way is Justin Fields. And one of those teams is probably going to take Justin Fields simply so they have a guy. But you never know. But those are my most notable 5 storylines coming out of free agency. Hope you guys had some entertainment here. I also have to just say this. One thank you out of free agency. Like I said, there's still a fan in everybody. And fans do love free agency, just like I do. Fan too. Regardless if I'm an NFL owner or not. We'll say this. Thank you, Packers. Thank you for bringing back my boy Keyshawn Nixon. We needed him. I always got to get my boy Keyshawn in if I can. Why? Because he was notable on my free agency team because of special teams with new rule changes that are definitely coming to the kickoff. Special teams, returners are important. And that's why Keyshawn Nixon got paid $6 million a year, much more than what he was getting before, so he could be a viable return man. That is a good noticeable. That is all I have for the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. listening or watching wherever you are getting this one. Whether you're on Spotify or you're on YouTube, as our big main things. Thank you so much. And again, if you want to go check the shows out on Spotify, if you somehow found it already, thank you so much. That's awesome. But if you haven't found it through Spotify, look up the ONETA football show, or you could see it through the ONETA show. And you could probably get it through P.T.E Creative. However, when I try to search it, it's a little bit difficult even for me, and I'm the one posting this show. So go to the ONETA or the ONETA football show and go find those on Spotify. We appreciate you finding us in this new medium. Go catch our socials, Instagram, TikTok. We're all under P.T.E Creative. Check out the Etsy shop. Go buy some stuff for us. We love you for doing it, and you'll love the merch you get yourself. And while you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and help us out and help us make some great content for you. Great fans of P.T.E Creative. Thank you so much for watching. I am your host, Evan Davies, signing off. Happy trails to all you football fans out there. I'll catch you next week. Peace. Peace.